Okay, so this video is about the positive community culture paper, and this assignment is more involved than the other assignments in your portfolio. So again, where you're going to find those directions is in the portfolio instructions document, so you'll need to read that one pretty carefully, and I'll come over to there now. So here is the portfolio instructions document that's again located in that portfolio tab. And number 2, if you scroll down there, you'll see your positive productive classroom environment. This is the paper that I'm referring to. So for this particular paper, you're going to use this Harry Wong book that we haven't used much so far. And I've also put an additional resource inside the submission box area. It's a link to a playlist of various classroom management videos. And I think you'll find those helpful too, just to give you some ideas since you haven't been in the classroom probably before. And don't have a framework yet on how you kind of create this positive classroom environment. Those 2 resources are going to be your best bet. So First Days of School Unit B talks a lot about creating that positive classroom environment. And again, that playlist of those videos will also provide you some good information. So just a couple of highlights here as far as your paper. First off, this is a regular paper, so it needs to be in paragraph format, not in bullet format, and you need to do your best shot that you can for APA formatting as well. So although cover page isn't required, the proper headings and things like that need to be used. So I did give you an example of what the positive classroom paper should look like, and it is broken down into sections. And so I really want it done that way so that it makes it easier for me to know if you've actually addressed that area or not. So in your paper, you'll actually put section 1 and then statement of positive expectations ready for the first day. And then your next heading will be classroom climate that communicates positive expectations, and so forth and so on. Each number should be a paragraph in length. And how do you get it to be about a paragraph in length? Well, that's where those outside resources come in. So you are required to use outside resources like Wong and that playlist. You can use other resources if you want to as well. You'll just have to make sure you've put all of that in your reference page, including the Wong, and if you use the playlist, then you need to include that too. So that's what's going to help augment those areas. So just kind of briefly going over each one here for you so you have an idea. In section 1, you're kind of talking about your overall positive expectation for the classroom. So in number 1, you're actually going to have what is your statement of positive expectation, and how are you going to create that? How are you going to get that ready for the first day? Number 2, how are you going, your classroom climate, how are you going to create that climate that exudes positivity? So what are some of the areas that you could include to create an environment that is positive? How are you going to consistently convey positive expectations to students? That's number 3. And then for yourself, how are you going to maintain a personal attitude of high expectations for yourself as an instructor? So that's kind of an overview of section 1. In section 2, it's about organizing kind of your classroom and your first day experience. So in number 1, tell me about your first day of school celebration. What does that look like? What kinds of activities do you have planned? Number 2, plans a classroom welcome for the first day. So in that one, don't just think about what you're going to say. Think about your classroom. What's going to be on the outside of your classroom, your door, your hallway, maybe on their cubbies or their lockers. So what does that welcome look like? Number 3, that playlist is going to come in great resource for you in number 3 about how are you going to ensure that your kids feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally as well. And so again, those videos give you some great ideas for that. And then number 4, an environment for all students to succeed. How are you going to create an environment where that's going to happen? Is that where you're going to maybe focus on learning styles or individual needs of the students, but how are you going to create that environment for all students to succeed? And then lastly, section 3 is about being inviting. And when we talk about having an inviting personality, you know, some teachers, and I'm probably one of those, I'm very hard to read on my face. And so even though I'm a pretty happy, easygoing, carefree kind of person, my face doesn't always show that. So I have to be very intentional about what my face is doing when I'm in front of the classroom or when I'm talking to students. So that's part of being inviting. How you look is part of being inviting, not your physical characteristics, but do you look put together? Are you showing up in flip-flops and ragged out clothes, so are you approachable? Do you have a smile on your face when the students come in? So all of those can kind of contribute to inviting personality. An inviting classroom, again, is focusing again on what your classroom looks like. So one was what your classroom looks like the first day, but the second part of this is how are you going to create that inviting classroom all year long? And part of that, what I tell my students is don't just have the same posters on your wall day after day after day all year long. You want to have something new that's going to kind of capture their attention and make them excited about the learning process. And then number 3 is kind of sounds weird, but how you're going to work at being intentionally inviting. It's just those intentional things that you're going to do and you're going to make note of to make sure that your kids feel welcome into the classroom every day. So kind of a big thing that, again, I tell my students is we all have bad days. We all have days we don't feel good and we're there anyway. Or maybe we have a fight with somebody, or maybe our car just broke down and so we're just really not in the mood. Well, you kind of have to turn all that stuff off when you walk inside the classroom because your kids can't help what your day is like, but you can control your attitude. It's for 7 hours or an hour until your break, but you can control your attitude. And so how are you going to work about being intentionally inviting when you're inside that classroom every single day? And then section 4 is your resources that you've used in APA format. That does need to be in a reference page. And again, what's going to help you kind of augment to make sure that each number is a paragraph is by utilizing some of those resources. It's going to be very, very important that you don't use necessarily direct quotes. You're going to paraphrase ideas, no copy and pasting. This needs to be an original piece of work from you. But again, whatever ideas you've taken from other websites or a Harry Wong book, those need to be cited. So I hope that helps clarify some of the things for the Positive Classroom Community paper. But as always, if you have some questions, feel free to email me at any time.